Hey everyone, I'm trying something new with this video by having a guest on. As is often the case with new endeavors, technology was not cooperating, my recorder crashed a couple of times, and my camera resolution was downgraded, but I've tried to edit it to be as smooth as possible regardless. My guest today is Shahar Don Orr, who is also known as mightyiam on GitHub and elsewhere. He is the host of the Time Nix podcast, Nix Freaks podcast, as well as the Molybdenum Software Show. As always, links are provided in the description below. I hope you enjoy. Here we are.
Here we are. It's good to see you, Theo.
Yeah, you too. You too. So, for people who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into Nix, what excites you about
Sure.
Nix, sorts of things.
Thank you for having me. About me, Nix. Always been a nerd. Video games since like age 6, with some PC running MS-DOS. Was born in '87, so I think I've been 38 times around the sun by now.
Mostly video games on PC. You said. Did you ever play consoles? You're part of that.
Never console.
Never console. Wow, that's impressive.
Not my own console. Maybe a friend's console.
Gotcha. What kind of games did you like to play?
Uh, there was Golden Axe. I think that's a well-known one. But there was
Yeah.
also Monster Bash. There was Commander Keen. I think that was like an entire series of them. But
Yeah.
um, there was one, I think, game that kind of helped me develop my brain. Not that I'm the most intelligent person, but it was called The Incredible Machine.
Okay.
As a child, I used to just bang my head against this puzzle game until I went through, succeeded solving this puzzle and then the next puzzle and then the next puzzle, and had so many levels. I think even today would be a cool game. I don't know if it's available anywhere though.
Yeah, I don't remember hearing about that one. What sort of puzzles did you have to solve in it? Was it like visual blocks or word puzzles? Or...
It's like 2D, both physics and then a little bit of logic and electricity. I think there were some logic gates there,
Okay. So
switches, and
prepping you for interest in programming later on in life.
yeah, of course. Back then, I didn't even know what programming is.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
yes.
I've been purposely avoiding a game that I'm sure you've heard of called Factorio because
Oh yeah.
I've just seen people say, "Oh, I've started doing this," and then they've disappeared. And 8 years later, they come out of a cave, and everybody's like, "Oh, it's you." I imagine it's similar to that in terms of problem solving, but heavy addictive qualities as well.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to me with regards to video games. I've been told as well, don't play Factorio. It's great, but don't play it. Even I have a friend, I very much appreciate him, but and as a developer as well, very smart. He played. He says he played for way too much Factorio, but I tried it nonetheless, and I was a bit uh, concerned. But nothing. I don't know. I played it. I said, well, maybe it's my experience with video games. Like, I know where this is going. It's going to be just more of the same. And it's fun. I
Yeah.
know fun. I've had a lot of fun with video games. But when I just tell myself it's going to be more of the same, that thought just somehow neutralizes that fun, because it's not going to get me anywhere. And I want to make stuff. I want to provide value to others.
Yeah.
Programming is where I can provide some value to others and solve problems, not solve problem. There's another thought. This is a challenge that someone else was smart enough to make for me to solve.
Mhm.
So why am I solving a challenge someone else designed for me to solve? That means like they're at least smarter than I am, and let me solve a challenge that no one solved before and make
Yeah.
some
Solve your own challenge.
library, make some software project, something
Nice.
for someone else to make value of, to use.
I like that. I find it difficult to stop playing video games, particularly ones that have a novel interest that draw you in. It's
Hmm.
interesting that you mentioned the neutralizing factor of just being repetitive, because one of the genres that I really enjoy is action RPGs, and you get to a certain point where you can just kill everything, and you're just kind of playing over and over and over to find
Yeah.
items and whatnot. And I enjoy playing those only because I can play them and feel like I'm doing something, but I can also listen to a podcast or an audiobook or a lecture and not be distracted from listening. But yeah, if I'm not able to multitask in that sense, then the neutralization is sort of there as well. So yeah, I can relate.
Totally, totally. Last night I had a milestone recording in my podcast, Full
Yeah, you
Time
mentioned.
Nix,
Tell me about that.
and I'm not going to say what it is, because
Okay.
I didn't publish it yet. Uh, but and once again, I was reminded while I was editing it, that editing it, listening to every word, and just sitting there listening, I it's difficult. It's difficult for me, to the extent that um, I feel I need to do something. So I uh, loaded up Path of Exile,
Beautiful.
which
Love
is an
that game.
action
Yeah.
RPG. Right, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Um, and it then serves a purpose. It keeps my fingers and some areas of my brain busy enough that, you know what, the editing just kind of happens, and I have to pause it occasionally to
Mhm.
edit something, to mute someone, to cut something out. But then I had a good time. So it certainly served a purpose.
Yeah, Path of Exile is one of my all-time favorites. If I could get, it's a blessing and a curse on Nix right now, because I haven't been able to get Steam to load for
Really,
about 3 months, and I just bought a new graphics card earlier this year, and I got to play it for a little bit. Something happened. The Mesa driver wasn't working with something else, and I just haven't been able to play for several months. But it's a blessing in disguise, because then I don't go down the rabbit hole of playing way too much Path of Exile. Um,
hmm.
yeah. Have you played the second one yet?
No,
No, it's good. It's very different, but it's just as good as the first, but for different reasons in a way.
I would expect it to be good.
Yeah, I think a lot of the changes that they're introducing, they're going to backport into the first one as well. But that's a different conversation. um, I'm curious. You were talking about editing. Most of what you do for full time Nix, if I'm not mistaken, is all audio. So, like you mentioned, you could do something that you're looking at, keep your
Mm.
hands distracted, listen, and then do the editing on that side.
Mhm.
Do you edit your molybdenum videos as well?
Right. So I have a podcast, the Full Time Nix podcast. It's all about Nix.
Yeah, I guess
Uh,
we should
I
start there.
I bring in guests to talk about their open source contributions, people who work at companies using Nix. Um, when there was steering committee elections, I had twice by now a series of short episodes with candidates,
Mhm.
and most recently a new format called Nix Freaks, where
Right.
we have conversation that is spontaneous. We talk about announcements that I can find, uh, that has to have to do with new projects, new features, new releases, and anything else that comes up. We have these spontaneous discussions, and I've been liking it. That can be found at fulltimenix.com.
It's a bit
And
of a
there's the Molybdenum Software Show,
yeah.
which is it's something that's been going on for a while, and I've been very happy about. I think so. This actually starts earlier, if you don't mind me taking this back a bit.
Yeah, no. Go ahead.
Around 29, I want to say 2019 or so, I decided I want to learn Rust, and someone told me about, a friend told me about mob programming. Mob programming, also known as software teaming, is a format for synchronous collaboration on software, as opposed to via pull requests and reviews. I can talk for hours about mob programming. In fact, I have talked about mob programming for hours. I've been twice on the Mob Mentality Show podcast.
Okay.
I can recommend, because I like those guys and I like what they're doing. There's a lot of content there. They've been doing it for a long time. So I found some people. I think a great place to find people to study with, to practice with, is Reddit. I think there's
Hmm.
a lot of young people and a lot of willingness and availability to study together, to work on personal projects together. I think it's a great place to find people. So I did that, and I found some people to study Rust with in mob programming format. And
Gotcha.
there was a certain churn. People joined, people left, people tried, and some people stayed for long enough that we actually did learn Rust and practice Rust. And we published some Rust open source crate that does memoization of functions by placing an attribute above that on that function. So that was cool. And since and I did some more programming for or maybe more like pair programming for paid, some of my paid contract work as well, because I don't like working alone.
Hmm.
Well, I think it's for things that I enjoy, I can work alone. I can maybe not for very mobbing gives me this extra gear. I just can keep going because it's with people. I
How would
find it
you
just so much fun.
contrast the mob process with or against paired programming for somebody who's not familiar with mob?
It's more balanced, more sustainable, it's healthier. You two people can get tired of each other because and the interaction um, sooner than three people or four people. The diversity in the dynamics in a larger group makes it more balanced. An ecosystem, a natural ecosystem of organisms, is made more stable by its diversity.
Hmm.
So larger ecosystems are safer.
So
I
that's one
think
of
that
the
principle applies.
foundational principles of mob programming is larger groups of people at once.
Yes,
Is there an upper limit?
I think there's a certain upper limit, because at some point, the more people you have, the less participation you get from each individual,
That
and the
makes sense.
individuals want to participate. So that's one thing. And another thing, in practical terms, it's diminishing returns, because software development can be parallelized, and it should be parallelized.
Mhm.
You shouldn't put 1,000 developers in one room to work on one thing.
Right.
But you also should not put one developer in a room to work on one thing. That's, I think, the an error that our industry has been making for far too long. It's treating developers as if they're factory workers. No, we're researchers, we're um, scientists perhaps, and it's engineering. We should
Hmm.
be working as a team. And it's funny because it is acknowledged that we should be working as a team because we do form teams, but the collaboration format is for some reason asynchronous.
Hmm. Hmm.
That does not optimize for collaboration.
Why do you think that happened? Like, how did the industry get get down that path? Because it seems so obvious that as people we should be collaborating more, regardless of whether we're technicians. Because some programmers are much more technicians than they are engineers, and that's okay. All of it's needed, but um, it it's at a personal level. It sort of seems obvious that we should have better systems of collaboration, um, especially when we're on teams. Yet it seems to be something that many organizations struggle to execute well.
Well, first, I'm not first one to answer this question, and
Mm-hmm.
I recommend reading the book Software Teaming, and I recommend listening to the Mob Mentality Show podcast. But I think, in short, this is a result of applying the expectations of managers who don't really understand this what software development is, and what are the best forms, and also all sorts of interests that are external to software development that have to do with organizations and how they are managed. If you put someone to work alone, you can maybe try to rev- review and assess their performance, and then decide whether to keep them, how much to compensate them, or whether if there's a mistake, you have someone to blame. And all these concerns are again external to making progress in software development.
Let's shift gears a little bit. You mentioned
Mm-hmm.
Rust. We know that you're interested in Nix. How did you start in programming? Where did your interest start? What was that journey like? And how did you eventually end up interested in Nix?
Okay, so we're going back in time to about 2011. I was at the time living in Jerusalem. I want to perhaps do a little bit more introduction. I'm an Israeli living in Thailand, in Chiang Mai. I'm married with a Thai woman, and we currently live on the same piece of land with her parents and
Oh, cool.
maternal grandparents, and even an uncle and an aunt and their child. And it's a bit of a slummy area, because this is just how what villages look like here, most of them,
Sure. Yeah.
and this is where she's from. But but that's economic. That's an economic statement. These are good people,
Hmm.
and I call them village people. The village people here, the neighbors, they come and go, and they're pretty loud, and there's chickens outside, and it's it's a good and interesting environment. I'm not sure I'm going to stay here for many more years, or maybe build a house of a larger house than this on my own piece of land, but uh, it's a good life currently.
Nice.
So I was living in Jerusalem at the time, with flatmates, and I was working not in software, but in at a it was like a daycare, pre-kindergarten, like toddlers.
Hmm.
And even though I was a Linux nerd, but I was not a programmer yet.
Okay.
And it was like fun, easy, small amount of income, and it was enough for me at the time. But then I realized that the other employees there, they are going to do this for the rest of their lives. And that realization caused me to pivot, as we say.
Hmm.
And I said, okay, fine, I will learn software. I started,
What was the first language that you decided to start with?
it was Python.
Python.
Yeah, but I didn't get very far with that. I ended up contributing to some open source project, and the maintainer of that project, I got an email from him, and he said, "Hey, apologetically, would you like to do this for for a- for a while for $12 an hour? We need some more features. We need some more bug fixes in this project."
Nice.
And he was apologetic, but I was, yeah, I would like to do this for $12 an hour.
Where was he located?
He was working for a company in Indiana,
So you
and
jumped
that
at the
that guy
opportunity.
changed my life. He's a founder by now. He's the founder of, I think it's called, yes, it's called Woven.
Woven.
Shout out to Wes, the founder of Woven.
Awesome. Is that that Python project still on the go?
Actually, that was a JavaScript project. It's still on GitHub. It's called Wim Editor, as in what you mean editor. But it's a bit of a dinosaur. I
Yeah.
don't think anyone should be using it today.
So where did that take you in terms of next steps in your either career or?
The next long-term gig I got was also as a result of some contributions I made to this JavaScript TypeScript framework that's called Cycle.js,
Okay.
which I have learned a lot from and I very much appreciate the authors of, because I was contacted by a company from Austin to work on their, it was a player, an audio player that
Okay.
is embedded in web pages. So I did that for long term, for like a couple of years. I don't remember exactly. That was very cool. It was reactive programming with RX, the RX library for JavaScript.
Okay. So how long did you stay in Jerusalem after you decided to pivot? Was moving out of Jerusalem part of your pivot just to enter a new environment, or are they unrelated?
It was unrelated. I've been in Thailand for 7 years. I thought I was going to be a digital nomad, and I was for a short while, but then I met my wife and we just stayed here since. So
Did
I
you
was a
was
digital nomad for one destination only.
one destination? I was going to ask if you had a path there of other spots, but I guess one destination is it. How long were you a digital nomad before settling down?
Well, a month into it, I met my wife.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, life is interesting that way. You can decide to go down a path with a whole bunch of piss and vinegar, and then it'll present you with a situation that completely spins your head and changes things for the better, or sometimes for the worse.
Right.
Yeah.
Because we don't know what's good for us.
Mm-hmm.
Many
Mm-hmm.
people, I think, we can and we should try our best to figure out what's good for us and what's right for us.
Yeah.
But we don't know. Many times it's, like you said, it's something completely different. And this is true for career, for choice of partner.
Mm-hmm.
Some things look shiny, but I think we're dumb in general. Like, and many people are smarter than me, and I wish I was as smart as they are. And I see young people today um, coming out of universities or not even finishing um, yet, like children, and I'm thinking sometimes talking with them, man, I wish I was as smart as they are at that age. Or maybe a person can be smart. And I think I was a relatively smart kid, but not very wise.
Mm-hmm.
Smart person can make such impactful mistakes, and um, yeah.
I think that's part of it, is attaining the wisdom along the way. We've all got different levels of intelligence, and some people are very good academically, and some are not so much. But at the end of the day, I think anybody who's truly trying to live life rather than just merely be alive is bound to make some big mistakes. And the depth of learning that you're able to gather from that, and hopefully not repeat the same mistakes in the future, is, to me, speaks more volumes than just raw intelligence. I mean, they often go hand in hand, but I've also met some extremely intelligent people who are very bad at life somehow, which is often frustrating because you want them to do well. They've got so much potential, but it just doesn't seem to work out. So the joy of being alive and figuring out your place, I guess, seeing what's going to come of it, and how you can do the best with the cards that you're dealt, right?
Yes, and even if we don't do the best, I mean, life is for making choices and getting it wrong and
Mm-hmm.
learning. Like, I don't think we'd be here in this kind of world, in this kind of experience, this human experience, if we already knew everything.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
If we were already perfect in making all the perfect choices. I don't think that's the case.
It would be kind of boring too. You'd never have any surprises. And some of the best stories and best experiences come from fucking up really bad. It sucks at the time, but when you look back, you're like, man, not everybody can look back and have that experience, and then you can tell other people about it. Yeah.
Yes. And I'm grateful to have this life, to have this opportunity, all these opportunities to keep trying things, to keep trying to be the best person I can be, and try to create more things. And maybe we can circle back to the Molybdenum Software Show, because this is
Yeah.
the kind of my latest endeavor.
Sure. Sure.
So the Molybdenum Software Show is somewhat of an accumulation of several ideas. I think it's an opportunity to create multiple different values.
Okay.
So if I was to present it in a way that would make it interesting to people before I explain it, it would be something like, well, we want to learn. We want to train ourselves, practice things, practice software in this case, contribute to open source, get a reputation for ourselves, produce value for others, maybe for ourselves to leverage on later on. We want to network, get to know people, and even make friends.
Mm-hmm.
One of those people with whom I've practiced Rust in mob programming format with, he ended up coming to Chiang Mai on a holiday twice.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And I think me being here is probably a part of it, and we hung out here. I showed him some places. It was a lot of fun. I very much appreciate our friendship.
Awesome.
So making friends, even,
Mm-hmm.
it's a fun activity. I think we learn a lot from working together synchronously. Well, I don't only see the results of your code, and like the you telling me as a reviewer, here is like how this code could be better, or how this code is actually wrong, doesn't show me how you got to that conclusion, what you did, what's your workflow, how you test things, how you approach things, how you think about things. We think out loud in mob programming format. We think out loud. We
Mm-hmm.
learn. It's like maximizes, optimizes the learning, the knowledge sharing. So the upskilling is tremendous, right? Imagine you could absorb all the years of experience directly from uh, a couple more experienced software developers as you work with them for hours and hours and hours. I think that's a lot. And
Yeah,
imagine we can do that so very early on, um, when we are 18, 19, 20, still in university and college, learning software development. I think we this is a great value proposition that we should be working this way, practicing learning this way.
yeah, absolutely. You think to any moment. I think almost everybody can think back to a moment when they sort of overcame a hurdle on their own, and there's a really joyous feeling and a sense of accomplishment and stuff. And then you kind of look around and you're like, well, we'll just get back to the next thing. But if you think of that in parallel to those same sorts of accomplishments with other people, whether it's, winning at team sports, or even just paired programming. I've never done the mob programming thing, but I've certainly been in large collaborative sort of brainstorming sessions with 5 or 6 people who are all thinking out loud. And when everybody comes to a conclusion or a potential solution, and there's learning, there's a sort of elevated sense of accomplishment that you just can't compare at the same level to just figuring it out on your own. So yeah, I
Yes,
totally can appreciate that. Yeah.
yes. There's also value, and I think solo programming has its place as
Yeah.
well, and it's also very individual. You don't want to do you don't want to do more programming at all. That's fine. I mean, you do you, and at least I hope you get to experience these things and make the, make your choices based on some experience.
Yeah,
If you're going to
actually
be
having
into
tried
it.
first, and yeah, that makes sense. So how long ago did you start
So,
molybdenum? It's,
uh, wow, it's a good question. I don't know. Check out molybdenum.software,
okay.
and from there, there's a link to our YouTube. And scroll, scroll, figure out what the oldest video there is. So that's the idea, to make it a show, the Molybdenum Software Show.
Okay.
Record these sessions and get that, um, even more benefit, even more value out of it. Because then, and this is a very long format.
Mhm.
So not everyone's going to have the time to watch these shows. I don't know who does. I've never been a viewer of this or anything like it, because I don't think there's anything like it out there. Just complete sessions of people mobbing on software, doing software.
Mhm.
Solo sessions, sure there are, and I think even people are even doing it live.
Yeah, the live
We
stream
don't,
coding. Yeah.
right? I don't. We don't do it live. I don't see the value in it.
Do you have an ideal number of people that you're hoping to get on a given show, and how long do you go for? Do you have a given agenda?
I think this format this particular, because it's a show, I think it could tolerate a larger number of people, because people might be even more incentivized to participate and to be on a show
Hmm.
for 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 the excitement of it, for the exposure of it. Um, so but I really don't know, because in a company where there is motivation to parallelize the work to get more work done, I think when the mob reaches, I don't know, 7 people, it's a good time to consider whether the mob should be split into two. So it's kind of like I've heard it being referred to as like, I don't, what's cell, is it called cell mitosis, cell, when cells divide,
Yeah, I
what's
can't
it
remember
called?
I know what you're talking about though, but I can't
Uh,
remember the name for it. Yeah.
So when the mob can divide, then into two mobs, then maybe that's a good time to consider it.
Okay.
But practically, in the Molybdenum Software Show, I have not put in as much effort in recruitment as I would like. So if you look at the YouTube channel, there is not going to be more than 3 people
Okay.
anytime recent. I think maybe you'd find 4,
Okay.
but it's been a while.
And do you go into it with a specific agenda is probably the wrong word, but like a specific project or learning thing in mind? I know you mentioned Rust earlier, so I imagine you had some specific thing with the language that you wanted to explore. On a typical session, do you have that laid out, or you just kind of leave it open to whoever shows up?
Well, software projects tend to ask a lot of work. So it's not like we can cook something up in a session and then next session do something else. Maybe if it's, yes, we can fix some bug in another software project that is not ours in a session, or maybe add a small feature. But typically these are long term efforts.
Okay, so you'd ideally you'd have people coming on multiple episodes to work on the project over time.
Yes, this is not, it takes effort to onboard as well, because well, with some people it takes more. Some people it just clicks in and they mob straight away.
Yeah.
But there's that, and there's also, well, here's all the context for why we want to do what we're doing, and here's how we designed it, and here's what we are currently trying to make progress on. So you can't just hop on one session, and that's not a thing.
So what is the current project that you're working on?
It's called the Molybdenum Software PR Tracker.
Okay.
And it answers a question that the GitHub API does not answer. And that question is, for a particular PR pull request, what branches did that PR land in? In a software project that has multiple active branches, like release branches, and also a development branch, such as Nix packages is, we want to know, for example, for a bug fix pull request, did it reach Nix packages unstable, or did it reach the backports branch of a particular release, so that I would know? Or maybe it's a security fix, so I need to know, can I just bump the channel, or do I need to apply the patch myself? So GitHub doesn't answer that question. It takes some Git operation to answer this question, especially if some of those are backports, because that's not the original pull request.
Gotcha.
The backport is an additional pull request or some commit, so you have to figure these things out.
Gotcha. And is this is the end goal to have something that works in parallel to GitHub?
So it's two programs that should run connected to the same database. One periodically fetches from GitHub and inserts the landings into what's practically a cache of these landings on a database. And the other one provides the HTTP API to query this database.
How did you go about identifying that gap? Was it something that you encountered working yourself on Nix packages? Did you see?
It's a tangent off of much larger Nix packages security tracker project that I'm not involved in. And I hope that eventually it will use this service if it's deployed officially in the Nix packages infrastructure.
Since we're talking about Nix packages, when did you when did you get introduced to Nix? What drew you into the rabbit hole of Nix and Nix OS?
So I was a Linux user for a long time, for many years, actually since I think Debian 3.
Oh wow.
That was uh yeah. So when it's many years, it's probably around 20 years that I've been using Linux. So I've been using open source for a long time in Linux, and it was Debian, and then it was Ubuntu for quite a few years. And becoming a software developer meant that I can't just keep running default set of software and not just using a browser. And you have to, well, you don't have to, but I set up Vim and or whatever editor with VS Code, all sorts of tools, and between different dot files, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can just, and once so a friend told me about Nix OS as a Linux distro. I did not know at the time what it's all about and what it allows me to do. Then I started using Home Manager, and then it occurred to me, wow, okay, I can declare all of my configuration files, all of my programs, and they can share facts between them, and it's checked in and it's public. Well, it doesn't have to be public, but it's available to me from the internet, from anywhere, so I can redeploy this and I can share the same programs and configurations between multiple machines, because I have a desktop and I have a laptop, and I can roll back if something doesn't work right. That's all just fantastic, and every computer user wants this, whether they're willing and able to deal with the complexity that is the Nix ecosystem or not. I think the benefits are obvious.
How much have you found the learning curve reduce over time? Because as you mentioned, if people have the technical capability and the time and or the willingness to learn Nix OS and take advantage of all these opportunities that it has to offer, I think, like you said, everybody is really looking for that in computer world, whether or not they even realize it. And as a relative newcomer to Nix OS myself, I have many of the same reasons for adopting it. And I'm curious how much over time you've seen that technical on-ramp requirement reduce or potentially increase over time.
Right. You kind of read my mind there, because I don't know. Ask me whether it was reduced at all. Was it reduced? I think Nix has been obviously getting better, been getting some more features. Nix packages has been getting some more features, some more fixes, some refactorings, but that, users don't care about your internal refactorings.
Mm-hmm.
But like also, a Nixer would typically, with time, use more and more Nix in more ways, for more different things, and run into more missing features, more bugs occasionally, and maybe more refactorings that also take time, because, well, I figured out how to do something better, but I already have 200 Nix files that this maybe applies to. So yeah, I know Nix is a luxury.
Mm-hmm.
Nix is a luxury for those who have found the time and the energy to learn it, to practice it. And then, yeah, the benefits certainly are appealing and valuable.
So like many luxuries, once you get used to the joys of the luxury, you often realize that it's also a bit of a trap. um, if you get used to only drinking fine wines, and then
Hmm.
you can't drink fine wine anymore, you're relegated to grape juice. Then you can't really go back. And I say that sort of facetiously because when I
Yeah.
was getting familiar with Nix, I hadn't adopted it yet. I was still deciding whether I would do it or not. I came across several personal configs from people, and it would say right at the top, "This is a Nix config. Should I use Nix? No." You shouldn't get into it. I thought that was hilarious, but there's other examples where people write little articles and say, Nix solves so many problems, but once you get into it, you realize you might not want it, but then everything else looks broken, and you there's not there's no way out, essentially, even though you do gain the benefits of it. And there are days when I'm frustrated with what I'm doing that I sort of question whether or not I should have gone through. And that's ultimately where my catchphrase for Emergent Mind, the way out is through, came from, because I once you get
Hmm.
in too far, you can't really just back out because everything else seems broken then, or half baked. So yeah, you just got to keep going. I'm curious what you would
Hmm.
how you would comment on that.
Well, everything is kind of broken. Uh, it, most cities in the world are not planned as are not designed and planned. They kind of, like you say, emerge. Things emerge, and then more needs emerge, and more complexity is added. And well, software is easier to it takes less effort and less time to change than cities are. It's not you're not going to tear up buildings, relocate people. Maybe in the future of our civilization, we'd be able to do that if we have infinite cheap energy, and we figure things out with governance and purity in governance and all that. But even in software projects, they get large enough that even in software, we can't just have the resources to rewrite the world of software to make it build it more properly. So we have inherent complexity of things we want to do. That's already complex to a significant degree. And then we have a tremendous amount of accidental complexity because of bad choices, of bad designs, of things, of programming languages, operating systems, and even the hardware that these things run on.
Hmm.
So yes, drink wine or drink beer or drink champagne. You have to drink something,
Yeah.
and Nix is that something that's going to. It's pretty much the only thing, and that's why it's a trap. It's the only thing. What am I going? People use Docker to solve some of these problems, and people use every language stack has its own package manager. We have npm, we have cargo, we have Ruby gems, and we have this and that other thing.
Hmm. Hmm.
And but Nix is the only one that's trying to say, okay, fellas, let's. This is a shared problem: dependencies and the composition of software. Let's solve this properly once. And then Nix has its own accidental complexity. It's a programming language, the Nix language,
Hmm.
and it's far from perfect.
Yeah.
It was developed by a single person. It was originally designed by a single person, the original author of Nix, who is still at it, Elko Dolstra,
Hmm.
and he founded with a co-founder Determinate Systems, and they provide Nix centric services.
Hmm.
But
Shout out.
but it's, yeah, shout out that's it. But it's still, what can one person do? Also reference to mob programming, right? And
Yeah.
the benefits of that. So we have the language, all sorts of problems in Nix language, and flakes, in Nix packages, in Nix OS, in the Nix packages module system, in an entire ecosystem there. But it's the only reasonable solution that we currently have for this problem. So if I see, you said you saw a repo that says, here's my Nix configs, but should you use Nix? No, I don't know. You can. It's clear to me why someone would say that for Factorio, because it's just going to suck the life out of you.
Yeah.
But for Nix, like, it's more like, yes, if you have the time and energy to learn it, sure, people use Nix, say it's a superpower.
Yeah, that's good. I think I like that you circled it back to Factorio, because both of them require time, a lot of time to go in, and like you say, everything, including cities, nothing's perfect. Everything's got some level of broken. But like you said, Nix is solving a very important problem that nothing else is solving in the same way. And the paradigm shift that it presents, I think, is something that once people who aren't familiar with what that paradigm shift is start to grok it, I think we're going to see a lot more people adopting the technology or similar types of technology in the future, even in closed source to a degree. And yeah, like if you're going to, it's kind of why I like that facetiousness of saying, no, you shouldn't use Nix, because it's a warning. But as soon as you do, you do start using it, you're like, wow, how did I ever do anything the other way? And then you realize, oh, well, this is busted too, but it's busted in a way that I can at least build upon what I'm doing, and I can roll back, and I've got some sense of building on things that is more tangible and sustainable, I think, than the other type of busted. Because ideally, if things work out, just thinking in let's say just a personal home lab or whatever, all of the work that someone puts into making things work for what they need, the theory is that once you solve that problem, it's there. You don't have to worry about where did that dot file disappear to, or what change is happening in this part of the system that you totally forgot about, because it's all there. And once you solve those problems, then they're solved, and you can move on to the next thing. And because the entire ecosystem is similar, we're all sort of gradually moving in that direction.
Yeah, we are gradually, and you see this concept and the claim for various tools, even the trend, even infrastructure as code.
Right. Yeah.
Right. GitHub Actions, and frankly, I've been fortunate. I'm spoiled. I've been using Nix and not other things mainly. Right? So I can tell you, like, I'm not the best person to compare Nix to other things that Nix is better than. There are plenty of other people who are good at doing that, and many of them can be found talking about just that in the Full-Time Nix podcast. So I recommend checking that out. But not me, but I can say, at least in theory for myself, those various tools that claim infrastructure as code, well, really, how deep though? Like, all the dependencies and all the composition of all of the software, from bootstrapping them, from compiling the very first compiler from nothing, from source code, from assembly. And can you have overlays that slip in to change a certain compile flag for the library in all of the software programs that it is included in one go? And can you just change a certain kernel flag with one line of code, and it will seamlessly just decide, well, now I need to compile the Linux kernel, so I'll just do that. No, all of these other infrastructure as code solutions, I think they would probably be pale imitations of Nix. And I'm not saying, you haven't heard me say Nix is perfect, because Nix is
Yeah.
far from perfect and it's painful, but it's the only thing that is truly like Nix is Nix. It's derivations. That's the term for a certain unit of building something, an artifact in Nix. That's a derivation.
Yep.
Nix is derivations all the way down.
So at what point did you start thinking about creating the Time Nix podcast, and how did that come about?
I've been a podcast listener for many years. I think it helped me a lot in learning. Well, not like the. Actually, yes, even programming, because I've listened to so much programming related podcasts, and back at the time it was JavaScript ecosystem podcasts, and I learned a lot from just listening while walking the dog and doing the dishes and cleaning the house and whatever I was doing. So I owe a lot to this industry of podcasts.
Awesome.
At a certain point, I realized Nix doesn't have a podcast. And then I asked around, and some people actually started, and they did not continue.
Okay.
And there were some things that are similar to podcasts, but not quite podcasts, like recorded office hours. So I posted the idea. I didn't just do it. Like a good open source ecosystem participant, I did not just go and do something because I wanted feedback. I wanted to see whether anyone else is working on it. So I posted, hey, and you can still find that post on the NixOS discourse. If you find it, put it in the description, I suppose. Is there a Nix podcast? Is anyone doing it? And there was like, yeah, there's this. Nah. So I did it. I started. It took me some effort. I've actually got some help. Someone did the logo.
Nice.
I did not do the editing myself. I had this idea that I was going to have a team. We were going to have a team for this, but no one. But I got some help, but no one stuck around. And eventually, I realized if I was going to make this happen, it was going to be me. So I've been doing everything. This is a net expense for me. I've been using Transistor.fm as a publishing platform, and that is costly. I've been using Riverside. Your OBS just crashed. You just had to restart the recording, and that's something similar to that. Is some other OBS related recording problem was why I lost an entire recording to that, because it wasn't as simple as crashing. It was like we went through a recording, and then, oh no, actually it was noisy.
Oh no.
I'm not saying it was OBS. Maybe it's a driver issue.
Some sort of issue somewhere caused the static.
Yeah. And I hope that we will still get to record with that person again. But that was like a lost episode. And it was actually, you know what? It was the first, I think it was the first 3 episodes that had that problem to a certain degree, but only one of them was like too much. We had to drop it. So Riverside.
I remember listening to a couple of the early episodes and thinking, oh, it's interesting there, like the level of static, and then all of a sudden it changed. So I knew that at some point you had made a change, but yeah, that's good to know. I really hope these files are actually saving previous ones.
Likewise.
So what's that experience has been like from being a podcast lover and a consumer of podcast content,
Hmm.
and then making the leap to creating it yourself. Is there anything that you've experienced that was unexpected in terms of just the process of it, whether you love it more than you thought you might, those sorts of things?
Uh, well, I don't know how much how much I thought I would enjoy it or like it. It's I don't know. It's hard for me to answer this, but I can tell you that I like it. This is actually the first time that I feel like I'm providing value to the world that is of my own accord.
Okay.
That I'm not getting paid to do something that someone else thought is a good idea,
Hmm.
but it's my own initiative, and that's a warm feeling for me.
Awesome. Awesome. And I imagine that was probably part of the impetus for creating Molybdenum software as well. Just an extension of that same sort of creative process.
Molybdenum software is what I want to do most of my time. I want to do software, and that might change at some point, maybe, I don't know, but I we all want to live a good life and have enough for ourselves and to help people we that are close to us,
Hmm.
and we all want to work. I think many people don't realize it, or maybe don't, so they don't want to work, but I think work is just part of life. We kind of have to do something to be of value in this world, and not just take from it,
Yeah.
and it's actually, I don't know that we should be working 8 hours a day. Maybe we should be working only 6 hours a day. Not sure, but um I think work. So Millennium Software is how I want to spend my time working with other people, contributing to open source and recording it for the benefit of whomever wants to watch it and learn.
Where did the name come from? Molybdenum software is a little bit of a mouthful. The first time you told me about it, I think I mispronounced it 3 times before I got it right, which is fine. It actually rolls off the tongue once you get it. Um, but yeah, tell me a little bit about that. How did you decide on that name?
Yeah, so molybdenum is an element. It's I think it's Mo, the symbol,
Okay,
and the number is 42.
42.
And 42 is, of course, a reference to what's it called? The
Hitchhiker's
Hitchhiker's
Guide.
Guide to the Galaxy series of books,
Fantastic
which
book.
I read very early. I would think I was like 17 when I read those series of books. But so maybe that's a contributing factor. But I also played a some video game. Maybe it was Star Control. I don't
Okay.
quite remember as a child. And one mini game that it had was to go down with some kind of a harvester shuttle on the surface of various planets and to collect resources. And those resources were elements.
Okay.
So I was exposed to the names of elements very, very early on, and I always liked, like you said, that it rolls off the tongue, molybdenum. I
Yeah.
always just liked that particular. I didn't even know that those were elements. I don't
Right. Right.
think I knew what an element was at that age, but there you go.
Nice. Oh, I like it. That's good. And the throwback to 42 is good as well. You mentioned discourse. I don't want to dive too deep into a rabbit hole of the Nix community drama, but I think
Hmm.
it's worth, especially since for anybody who doesn't know watching this, this is
Hmm.
the second election for a steering committee for
Yes.
the Nix community. And full transparency for myself, I'm fairly ignorant to how the steering committee, how there was a decision that a steering committee was even required, and how that went. And it doesn't matter. It's there now. But this past year and a little bit longer, there's been a lot of drama in the community, some of which I think you got pulled into kind of indirectly for pointing out some language online that was less than stellar, we'll say. And ironically, you got a temporary ban from discourse, I believe it was, or committing,
Yeah.
or the very thing that you were pointing out. And I want to make sure that I'm not, picking sides here. I have strong opinions about these things, but like opinions, everybody's got them, and it doesn't really matter. And I don't want to make this a thing where we're just yelling into the wind and causing more noise. But as someone who has been subjected to some of the drama in the way that you have, but also as somebody who has had the privilege of having some fairly well-known names on your show, on your podcast. Like I think you've had Ilko on there. You've obviously had talks with Jonathan Ringer, who is another person who's been a part of some of the drama. And I can't think off the top of my head some of the other names from the community that have been on your podcast.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious if there's anything that from your side of things as an observer and a participant in the community, what would you say about the drama that's happened? What's your opinion of it? And do you think that now that the steering committee election is over, that do you get a sense that we'll actually be able to make some real progress and move on from the drama? I know that's a big question, but I kind of want to just open it up to you and let you comment on whatever within that realm.
Well, I don't. So it's like the extent of progress. Progress is always being made. I think what would contribute the most to progress is more funding,
Okay.
more sponsoring. If people get the time and the energy to improve our ecosystem, then they do. And even if the steering committee does not agree on various things, how much impact does that have? We will not know until we get a steering committee that does churn out decisions at a better rate, which may end up both resulting in unblocking certain developments because now there's a decision and it's not just blocked on that, and also in inspiring a spirit of let's go in the community, where hey, I now I feel inspired to contribute to, and not only in code but also in initiatives to create structures that allow activities of development and sponsoring of development. For example, the Molybdenum Software Show. If I get enough participants and enough regularity with those participants, I would love it the most that some company that uses Nix as a result of my connections via the podcast, for example, would say, hey, you know what? Or I would offer it to them. And you need this feature. Let us make it for you in the Molybdenum Software Show. We will work on this Nix feature, Nix packages feature, some additional Nix library that you need. Initiatives like this, right? Or like an organization that connects between a group of companies who use Nix and would love to invest an amount of money regularly towards the development of this ecosystem. So it connects between them and individual developers who would love to work on open source instead of working on proprietary software in whatever job that is offered to them. I think a good steering committee would result in lots of better spirit and motivation.
So if I was to rephrase that a little bit, and get your feedback.
But whether this will happen with this steering committee that you asked,
who knows? So really what you're saying is that the ideal outcome of a given steering committee or a voted steering committee would be to, rather than trying to come up with the best possible outcome at the expense of a decision, they would make a decision knowing that, everything everywhere is slightly broken and not every decision is going to please everybody, but a decision that is made in the interest of furthering collaboration, funding, and community growth would result in a net benefit for the community by inspiring people to get involved more, whether it's code itself or the peripheral things like marketing and style guides and all of the documentation. Everybody knows that Nix needs better documentation, those sorts of things, and that would cultivate an environment in the community where companies who are willing to fund development would do so in a way that is also a net benefit for the community. So the underpinning of that, if I'm reading what you're saying correctly, is a steering committee who can look past their differences and make decisions that benefit what Nix is about, which is really the Nix language and not opinions necessarily. Am I putting words in your mouth, or is that a reasonable summary?
Well, look, I don't know that they need to look past their differences. I think they should strive to apply their opinions and their perspectives. And if it comes down to it, they would probably vote internally, and decisions will come out of that.
That makes sense.
That's what they were made for, to just unblock things that otherwise there is no consensus on. If there's consensus among the community in a discourse post and no one says, no, this is a terrible idea, and one person or two people who don't like some idea or raise a concern about it is like sometimes enough to put a cog in the wheels.
Yeah.
Even whether they're right or they're wrong, or to what degree they're right and wrong. And eventually a decision should be made, and that's what the authority that they've been given is for.
Yeah. NixOS has been growing a lot in both segments. What would your recommendation to a relative newcomer be, or not even a relative newcomer, just a newcomer be, knowing that there's this baggage attached that's fairly well noted, I guess, and depending on who you follow on X or wherever, people bring up this drama even if they don't use Nix. It's sort of in the open discussion. Somebody new is coming along and they're excited about the technology, but then they see this and they might be a little bit trepidatious about even touching it with a 10-foot pole. What would your advice to them be
with regards to their concerns about the drama in the community?
or how would you guide them to keep going and keep pursuing it while trying to avoid the drama, or how would you sort of satiate their concerns? And it's okay,
first,
if you don't have an answer, but
I'm sorry. I want to say I'm sorry. This is this is the best I know. I know how to use Nix. I don't think there's an alternative. I hope that there's more than one way that even the like the what's the worst case scenario is that a more sane group of people will have to like do some hard forks,
Hmm.
and we this has been avoided for a long time, but also is happening with the Ekala project.
I'm not familiar with that one.
E
AKALA?
Ekala. And again, they're not. Some of them are my friends. I hope they would agree with me on that.
Mm-hmm.
But no one's perfect.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And no one's perfect. Not ideologically, not philosophically, not technically, not anything.
Yeah.
Right. But that's one escape hatch, right, from this. If a project gets captured by unreasonable people, then we're going to have it's open source. We have that always on our side.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So don't be afraid of using Nix for that reason. It's
Yeah,
open source.
for sure.
Be concerned about how long it's going to take you to figure it out.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's a steep learning curve. Yeah.
so start early if it's early. Start late if you can afford it. Um, Try to get help. Mob on it. If you can find some people again on Reddit, I think it's a great place.
Yeah,
Let's learn Nix together. Yeah, do that.
for sure.
Take
Yeah,
it
it
one
kind of
step
seems
at a
like,
time. It's a repository. If you're trying to use start with Home Manager,
yeah.
later on move to NixOS. Commit by commit. Build your environment. Build your collection of software, of configurations. Refactor early. Refactor often. Figure out how to do things better. Go into repositories of others. My repository, link in the description, I
Hmm.
suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think I agree. Just sort of tying the knot in that, um, the more people who get involved in the community that are interested in the technology rather than trying to inform the world how to operate, um, the more the conversation and the community will shift their attention towards that. And it might take a long time, but it's just about, yeah, keep going, keep learning, get in there, focus on what it's all actually about, and don't be dissuaded by a bunch of by the loud minority, rather. um is kind of how I look at it, and it sounds like that's similar. um to
Mm-hmm.
build on what you were saying about, take a look at your repositories. We've got about 15 minutes before I'm going to have to go. If
Sure,
you're still good to go for another 15 minutes, that'd be great.
I
um
am.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about flake parts, and specifically the dendritic pattern, because I know that you are um, a user of the dendritic pattern. Perhaps you originally came up with the idea for it. I'm not entirely sure, but you're a proponent of it. You've done workshops on it.
Um, let's talk about the Home Manager / NixOS use case.
Sure.
Although it can be used for software projects as well, the flake parts and the dendritic pattern. Typically, a Home Manager user would start with a single file, put everything in one file. Maybe they don't even know yet that they can split things into multiple files, or maybe they try to split things into multiple files by the usage of the import function that is built into the Nix language, which is not the correct thing typically to do in the Nix packages module system. Now, I should say that the Home Manager and NixOS and NixVim and Stylix and Nix Darwin, they all use the Nix packages module system.
Mhm.
I think it originated in NixOS. but it can be used for many things. Go ahead and look into it. Use it for your own usages. It's very useful. It provides both type checking to some degree that otherwise does not exist in Nix,
Mhm.
in the Nix language, and another valuable feature that is option value merging. For example, if you have a list of packages, like here are the packages I want to have available in my user's path, and you can have a value for that option in Home Manager. It's home.packages, I believe.
Mhm.
You can provide a value for that option in one file, in one Nix file, and you can provide a value for that option in another Nix file, and the Nix packages module system will merge those two lists into one list. I certainly did not invent the dendritic pattern. I think I've simply took advantage of the opportunity to name it,
Okay.
to kind of formalize it.
Mhm.
And I think that's valuable because it started the discussion, the public discussion of this pattern within clear boundaries, which resulted in a whole bunch of usages and documentation. And I should mention Vic on GitHub,
Mhm.
VIC, who has a whole bunch of more documentation than I ever did for the dendritic pattern, and also libraries to support it, and it's great work.
Okay.
So it's useful because otherwise a Nix user could find themselves confused on how to like split up their all their different values into multiple files, how to exactly structure it. It's all very, and Nix is considered policy free.
Mhm.
It's it's in its core, it's simple. It's quite simple, and it doesn't tell you how to use it. So it's very useful to have these patterns of usage. And so I recommend looking into it, because even with the application of the successful application of the dendritic pattern, there are still questions for the user, for the author of their own NixOS home manager configuration, or multiple configurations of how do I structure this? What do I call the file? What does this value have to actually do with? What does it do for me? Is it
Mhm.
part of the fact that I need to remote access into my machines? Is it part of the fact that I have this particular GPU? Is it maybe has to do with how I use my shell? Is it a fact that it's shared between all the machines that I have in this repository, or is it just for my own user? There are still questions, even with the dendritic pattern. So having at least this pattern in place, I think, is of great value.
Okay. Yeah, that's one of the things that I took some time to decide on how I wanted to structure things with before starting into NixOS. Even starting a repository, is it was looking around at a bunch of different ways of doing things, and immediately you're just overwhelmed with all the possibilities of structure. And I like organization. I could just lose myself for hours reorganizing my books or stuff like that. I love structure and organization. And I came across a Nix configuration structure. I think it was Mysterio 77. And things started to make sense to me. And I used that as a basis for setting up my own configuration. And then I started making videos about it, and, writing some articles, and giving people a sense of how to potentially structure their own. And I think that's ended up being fairly successful, just given the number of people who've reached out to me or starred my repo or whatever. And early on, I remember coming across Nix or Flake parts. And at the time I was like, well, Flakes is already experimental, and then Flake parts is like experimental on top of the experiment. Maybe I should take a step back, not jump in
Yeah.
too far to the deep end. And now that I understand things a little bit better, and I'm looking to create sort of shared repository. My brother and I have very similar configurations, and we actually share some of the same like physical resources, physical machines. But
Mhm.
then we're faced with the problem of having to, he makes changes to his config, and I want some of those modules in mine. So it becomes a game of trying to keep up with each other. So we're looking for a solution to have a shared repository of optionalized modules. And Flake Parts is one of the things that we're looking at for the eventual solution. And of course, I think Flake Parts without some sort of specific, somewhat opinionated pattern is just opening up a world of possibility on top of possibility again. So I've been starting to look into it a little bit. Unfortunately, the last couple of months I've been sidetracked by higher priorities, but I'm looking forward to diving into it and making a decision on it one way or the other. And one of the things that I like about the dendritic pattern, which I do in mine, is just the simple nature of shifting things from I'm going to configure a machine with all the stuff that I need for the machine, and then I'm going to go to the next machine and configure all the stuff for that and figure out where the overlap is. Whereas the dendritic pattern says, okay, here are all the features and things that could happen, and then I'm just going to assign those to the machines as needed. And that's a very similar mental model to how I did it with my Nix config. But the benefit of using Flake Parts is you eliminate a lot of that glue code, and that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to in terms of diving into that. So
Good
hopefully it's
luck.
a good solution. Yeah, I'm sure I'll have lots of questions for you.
Yes, if you have questions, we have in the Dendritic pattern repo, there's a link to the Matrix channel. We also have in the Dendritic pattern repo GitHub discussions.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll check that out for sure. I missed that. I was on there today earlier, just sort of preparing for this conversation. I missed the discussion thing, but I'll check that out for sure. Okay, so we've got a couple minutes left. I want to ask you one last question, and it's possibly a tough one because it's fairly open-ended.
Sure.
But if there was one thing that you could change about the Nix ecosystem, whether that's the language, the community, the documentation, anything, one thing that you could change about the Nix ecosystem, what would it be?
I would place myself as king of Nix.
I like it.
Or maybe someone else, not necessarily myself. I don't think I want to
be
in that role.
Benevolent dictator for life kind of thing, or whatever that's the phrase they use, right? The BDOF or whatever.
Yeah. I think it's a good idea. If they become problematic, deal with that situation. Fork it. Try to confront them. I don't know. I think it's probably better than what we have now. But if it's a tough question, like kind of a funny question, funny answer.
Okay. Yeah. No, I like it. So, Shahar for king. Oh, that's how we'll summarize that.
but I really do want to change my mind. I don't want to be in that role.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be a bad choice. I think I'd do pretty good, but it's service. It's tough service.
I wasn't sure what to expect, not having run one of these and done an interview. So hopefully you enjoyed yourself. So thanks again for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I hope this has been fun for the viewers as well.
Thanks for watching this first guest episode. Please let me know what you think of this format and provide any constructive criticism you might have. And perhaps you've got some guests you'd like me to chat with in the future. Special thanks as always to my generous supporters. See you in the next one, and remember, the way out is through.